obviously attach and we link that policy into the statement of applicability once we prepare this. So this is, I mean, how normally it goes on. So, I mean, looking at the scope, and this is the scope. Scope defines, I mean, for example, all types of information, and then I will say all types of services, and then I will say, I mean, and that is applied onto the number of, how we could say, types of, or the nature of business. Could be e-commerce, could be, I mean, internet-based, how we could say, I mean, services, or let's say organization, which is, how we can say, I mean, they're having much more, I mean, e-commerce type of, how we could say, I mean, business. Could be outsourcing, could be daily working and mobile computing, including, how we could say, I mean, software development based organizations, networking based, could be anything. So, I mean, depending on the organization, we have to have, how we can say, that kind of scope to be defined, and the scope defines that, I mean, what are the areas, what is basically the boundary where the whole, how it let's say, I mean, information security management system is going to be implemented. So I think this is the scope, and this was like the risk treatment plan, which already I think we have been talking about. So this is a risk treatment plan that including planned processes and procedures, implement risk treatment plan and controls, training and awareness, which already I have talked about in the previous slide, manage operations and resources in line with ISMS, implement procedures for identification and response to security incidents. And I think, I mean, this is something really important, and that has to be taken care in and taken into consideration. I mean, managing incidents. So for managing incidents, there could be a complete incident reporting procedures which are set internally, and within the organization I'm talking about. So there are reporting forms, and then I will say now there is, I will say, incident handling team. There are incident handlers. These incident handlers are handling the incidents within the organization, and then these incidents are escalated. So I mean, the complete incident I mean, management and handling is done by, for example, let's say a particular, how will say, I mean, a group of team within the organization. So this procedure and this, how will say, process and this flow needs to be set up within the organization in order to manage incidents internally, for example. So this is something important, and then, I mean, this is like the implementation part. This is the check part. For example, let's see, we monitor the implementation, we test, we audit, we review, including the risk, and based on to that, I mean, this is how the, I mean, compliance is into the stage of check, and this is how it goes on. Now, I mean, moving further with the I mean, for example, ISMS implementation does act part, review findings from check, acts on the results of review to affect policy. I mean, of course, I mean, this is what we said, that, I mean, we need to check, and then, I mean, we need to see that if there is any missing gap, so that it needs to be filled. And then, I mean, we are talking about the include actions required to address any change in factors affecting risk. So, I mean, if there are any more controls that needs to be set up in order to make it secure, so then, I mean, we need to go ahead and then we just try to I mean, implement that. So this is, I think, the part of the act, and I think this is a very I mean, for example, beautiful slide which talks about the stepwise approach of, how we can say, I mean, attaining the information security standard compliance. So I think if I try to summarize that, whatever we have been talking on to all these slides, so we are saying that, for example, let's say step one, define the policy, and that could be information security policy. It could be any other policy, for example, access control policy, for example, let's say internet usage policy, for example, email policy, backup policy, could be anything. So I mean, but I mean, all this has to be could be change management policy, could be HR policy, could be internal audit policy, could be a change management policy. So I mean, all these policies, they needs to be there, they needs to be implemented, and this is what basically define the policy. Second step is the define the scope. So I mean, as we said, I mean, what is scope has to be defined. So scope of ISMS and scope, I mean, this is defined in terms of, how we say, I mean, looking at the assets which we have and the services which are running. And step three, basically, I think talks about much more about the preparation and undertaking of risk assessment. So, for example, how could we go for the risk management, and how we look at the threats and the vulnerabilities and the impacts. So, of course, I mean, we need to look at the threat agents. So, once we look at the threat agents, so based on it, I mean, looking at the threat agents, then we talk about the impact. So, for example, for this particular threat agent, this is the impact. For this particular threat agent, this is the impact. And based on to the impact only, we try to, I mean, analyze and then calculate risk. And based on the calculation, if let's say it is high, then we try to mitigate it. So, I think this is the step 3, which goes about, which talks about the risk management, and that's based on to the risk acceptance criteria. And once the risk is accepted based on to the defined use case, and then, I mean, we go ahead with the, I mean, implementation. So, this is that part, and then the, I mean, step 4, I mean, this is like degree of assurance required, means that this particular, how we call, control is in place, and that's the managed risk, and risk to be accepted. Step 5, and that's like, I mean, select control objectives and controls. So, we are saying 133 controls. Based on to that, we try to see that what is there, what is not there. We have a to-do list, and then based on the to-do list, this is, I mean, going ahead with the, I mean, compliance. And risk treatment plan. This is, I mean, and then we have the last step, which is statement of applicability. So, I mean, what I'm trying to, I mean, make you realize here is that this was the planning stage, and that's been, let's say, I mean, depicted in a, I mean, stepwise approach, which talks about that how do we go ahead with the, I mean, let's say the ISO 27001 information security standard compliance, and then based on to that, this is the planning. Then the do implementation, check the, I mean, review, act is, or let's say the improvement. So, these are the cycles which are normally that goes, and this is the statement of applicability. This is what I've just said. And security controls needs to be identified, and we need to justify that, look, these are the appropriate controls which are already put up in place, and we meet, and then this is how we can secure the, I mean, a complete organizational information infrastructure, and then relate selection of controls and reason for selection back to risk treatment plan. So, this is, I mean, now based on to the risk, I mean, we need to, I mean, how to say, match with the, I mean, statement of applicability, and then in practice there's a link between selection of controls to statements in ISMS policies. So, this is, I think, something which we documentation. So, for example, for achieving any compliance for any risk standard or information security standards, I mean, there's a documentation plan, and that documentation plan talks about, for example, in case of ISO, we could have, I mean, asset register. This is one thing. Based on to the asset register, we could have the risk treatment plans. The risk treatment plans is again a documentation. Then we could have the policies. So, we could have plenty of policies in order to fill up the compliance part. Then we could have the procedures. So, procedures could be, again, could be, I mean, let's say mini. That's again the part of documentation. Now, for example, risk acceptance criteria. So, that's RTP. Then we have the, I mean, statement of applicability. That's another documentation. So, I mean, based on to that, this is all part of the documentation. Then in this, again, in the policy, there is, I mean, let's say documentation and confidentiality of information classification could be, let's say, secret, could be top secret, could be restricted, could be confidential. So, these kind of criteria are there. Based on to that goes on. Now, then, like document control. So, this is like, I mean, standard format for, I mean, let's say preparing the whole documentation. I mean, for example, authorization. It means that as normally we used to have in every documentation, where, I mean, the document, let's say, creation history is mentioned, then the which version of the document, what is the change history format. So, this is the part of the documentation, and again, this is the part of, how we call it, say, the documentation of, how we call it, say, information security standard compliance. And this is basically the ISMS project roadmap. So, I mean, I think you have seen into the previous slides, whatever I have been discussing, that right from plan, the do, and the check, act. So, what comes where? So, if you look at the red line, that's the board approval. So everything that starts, for example, once we have agreed to the scope, the policies are defined, inventory is already asset inventory, it means that asset register is there, risk assessment is there, based on that statement of applicability, and based on that is all approved, and then we move further for how we can say the do and the check and the act. So now one thing which I wanted to share that, there is something is known as, these information security standard certifications. So, for example, once you certify to ISO 27001, or let's say Sarbanes-Oxley, or let's say HIPAA, or could be, let's say another standard ISO 27035. So it means that there are certification bodies. So they come and they certify you, and this is what is, basically adds value to how we could say, customer value for how we could say, organizations. Those are, customer oriented, organizations, and which are product, based organizations where products are developed and they are sold. So, or services which are provided like that. So it means that this certification will be surely, one point is that it is going to protect the information. It's going to define the ownership. Plus, how we can say, is bringing, how we can say, much more value in terms of business. So I think this is the most important part of this ISO 27001 or any information security standard compliance, that it adds value in terms of securing your infrastructure, and of course particularly the information and the data, plus how we can say it brings back, how we can say, the assurance to the customers that look, they are, how we can say, ISO 27001 certified organization. So surely, how we can say, their controls are being put up in place. So doing business with them is much more secure as compared to any other organization. So it means that the controls are in place, and I think this is one of the most important part which we need to understand why, we have to go for information security standard compliance. Compliance is, of course, because compliance talks about not only let's say, how to say, bringing business, but compliance talks much more about securing and protecting data. So this is it. And then I think this is a slide which is interesting, and in terms of, like, for example, senior management support. This I mentioned right in the beginning of the presentation, that unless and until we don't have the top management support, I think driving these kind of, how we call it, projects is pretty hard, because at the end of the day, we have to have the gap assessment done, and looks, we need to visualize and we need to identify the cost which is required in order to implement that. I think this is something again we can touch on here quickly, that the cost involved. So surely for implementing, or let's say for going towards information security standard compliance, there are different costs involved for the organization. It means if the controls are not there, those controls, they need to be procured, they need to be purchased in order to be put up in place. So of course, I will say we need to invest into that. So this is what we need to analyze, and this is what we are seeing, that this is how this could be done while doing the gap analysis. So the gap analysis again is a full-fledged cycle into the gap analysis, because we have to analyze. There is scoping. There is, I will say, identify the areas where we have to identify the gaps. So we have to set up the teams again there. So again, for the gap analysis, there should be, how we will say, a full-fledged team that gets the setup in order to do gap analysis. So this is like a complete compliance field, which in short and briefly I have discussed right here. And then these are some milestones in order to see that into the implementation of the compliance, how it goes on. So one thing is something is known as the completion of statement of applicability. So since we have reached here, it means that the planning part is over. Initial procedure implementation. So it means that if we are here, it means that we are talking about the do part. First cycle of system audit. It means that once we are here, so we are talking about the check part. So these are some milestones to see that, and of course, we have to have, let's say, a complete, how to say, schedule and the Gantt chart for, how we could say, and this is not information security. Let's say, how to say, time management basically of all the different cycles which we need to go ahead, and we talk about each and every cycle. Of course, I will say initiation time and the completion time. So a complete project management part, and that is, has to be there. And just coming back to the policy and design, so there are a number of policies which could be related to the, from organization to organization. The basic and the most common policies which are there is here, because now again we need to see that what we're talking about. We're talking about the if established network. We're talking about the wireless network. We're talking about the mobile devices. So we are talking about the tablets. We are talking about, for example, how these tablets are moving. If we are talking about the bring your own devices, where, and for example, again, for that policy needs to be defined. So all these are there, but right from acceptable use, you could just see that some 10, 11 policies are mentioned onto this particular slide, and all these will be required in order to, let's say, comply to that particular standard. And this could be broken down into two parts. One could be a policy, one could be the procedural, let's say procedures, which could be, let's say, developed in order to support those policies. So this is how it goes on. And I think, I have reached to my last slide, and here I could wanted to discuss more, but I think the time won't permit me to go ahead that way. Information security audit. This is information security audit is, of course, a full-fledged an area which we are talking about information systems audit and control. So the whole ideology behind information security audit is to, identify the gaps. This is one, because for example, if we talk about from the network, if we talk about the, for example, applications, if we talk about, for example, let's say utilities. So now we need to see from how we can say could be a network-based audit, could be information security-based audit, where we can go from how we can say from the perspective of access control, authentication, and authorization. Now, if it is not gap, if it is a compliance audit, so based on to ISO 27001, we can audit the organization. Seeing that, look, these are the weaknesses. Now within this, we could have the vulnerability scanning, we can have the pen test, we can run how we can say another how we can say some few more how we can say tracking tools of the how the access is granted. So look at the for example ADs and all, how the access is defined. For example, if let's say any particular employee has left, if his how we call it say access rights have been removed or not. So something like that. So it's a full-fledged chapter here, which cannot be talked in just a few minutes, but of course the idea is here. And I think the last part where I wanted to touch in is this is something information security strategy, and this is something of let's say paramount importance, because without information security strategy of the organization, we will not exactly know that how could we proceed in order to implement and in order to secure our assets in a better way. So that's why information security strategy is required. And normally what happens in the information security strategy is that we need to define the strategic goals, and these strategic goals are classified in terms of, let's say, goals or objectives, and those objectives, based on to those objectives, we try to identify the, let's say, the areas and which needs to be addressed, and based on to that, we try to put up the control in terms of, for example, hardware or let's say application, which could support, for example, intrusion prevention system, for example. So plus based on how we will say different encryption-based technology, for example, let's say encrypting the channel, for example, let's say putting up the PGP, for example, putting up how we call it say the using the digital signatures, for example. So all these could be formed a part of information security strategy. Information security strategy basically could be dealt at the level of the organization. Information security strategy could be dealt at the national level. So depending on to the nature of strategy we are talking about, accordingly the scope will be localized. I think this is the last